PBS has enjoyed a long and productive relationship with our honoree. So who better to deliver a tribute than Paula Kurder, President and Chief Executive Officer of PBS, the nation's largest non-commercial media organization with more than 350 member stations across the country. Since taking charge in 2006, Paula has demonstrated strong commitments to the arts, news, public affairs, diversity, education, and more. For the past 8 years, it's been my privilege to assist Paula at PBS, and now Juan Sepulveda, her Senior Vice President for Station Services as well. Please join me in welcoming Paula to the stage to deliver a tribute.
Thank you, Mickey. It's a pleasure to be here and to be joined by Juan Sepulveda and Sandy Pedlow, my two dear colleagues in public broadcasting. It's an honor to be part of your tribute, my friend. When Mickey called, we all know that when Mickey calls, I immediately said yes because I wanted to have the opportunity to publicly thank you for all you've done as an actor, a producer, but most importantly as a humanitarian. Of course, we all know that Ed is an accomplished actor with an Emmy Award, a Golden Globe Award, and the first ever Academy Award nomination for a Latino American. And listing his most memorable roles would take up all the time that Mickey's given me on the stage, so please pardon me, I'm not going to do that today. But I do want to talk about your advocacy work on behalf of the Latino community, because that's the real reason I want to say thank you. I strongly believe that diversity is what makes our country so rich and our country so strong. And it's especially important that our media, especially public media, represents and reflects the communities we serve. At PBS, we strive to share a broad array of programming that reflects the richness and diversity of our country's cultural heritage. Ed has been an integral part of this work as co-founder and chairman of the board of Latino Public Broadcasting. And for the last 16 years, Latino Public Broadcasting has helped public media forge a partnership with Latino filmmakers. Since its founding, Latino Public Broadcasting has awarded over $10 million to independent filmmakers, provided more than 200 hours of programming to public broadcasting, provided professional development to an average 300 filmmakers a year, increased Latino viewership of PBS, and brought Latino arts, history, and cultural curriculum to schools nationwide. Latino public broadcasting programs have reached an estimated 84 million viewers on television and won, listen to this statistic, over 80 awards, including the prestigious George Foster Peabody Award, the Imagen Norman Lear Legacy Award, and the National Council of La Raza's Alma Award. All of that is thanks to the vision and commitment of Ed Olmos. I know that Ed's humanitarian work goes well beyond his work with Latino Public Broadcasting. He has worked to advance Latino literacy, stood up against the United States actions in Vieques, and has been an international ambassador for UNICEF. I bet you don't know that was my first job, working for UNICEF. You and I have many paths that cross together, my friend. But to me, it's your work to bring more diverse stories to our media that will stand out as one of your most lasting achievements. Over 50 years ago, the legendary chairman of the FCC, Newton Minow, challenged broadcasters to put the people's airwaves to the service of the people and the cause of freedom. He said, "You must help prepare a generation for great decisions. You must help a great nation fulfill its future." Today, I can say with great confidence that Ed has been fundamental to this work. As an activist and humanitarian who has consistently used his spotlight to highlight Latino voices, Ed truly has put the people's airwave to the service of people and the cause of freedom. Ed, you have helped prepare a generation for great decisions, and you have helped a great nation fulfill its future. On behalf of the millions of lives you have touched, thank you.
Thank you, Paula. And now for our honoree introduction. We're pleased to be joined at this time by Congresswoman Linda Sanchez of California. She also serves, as you know, as chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. Congresswoman Sanchez has broken many barriers in Congress, including being the first Latina on the House Judiciary Committee and first Latina to serve on the House Ways and Means Committee. She is the sixth of 7 children born to immigrant parents from Mexico, including her sister, Congresswoman Loretta Sanchez, who is also a candidate for the United States Senate from California. Please welcome our friend, a friend of our honoree as well, a champion of our community, the Honorable Linda Sanchez, for remarks.
Good afternoon. Are you guys in food coma mode yet? Liven up. The best part of the program is ahead. Thank you to Mickey for everything that he does. And I want to thank everyone for sharing their stories and working to fulfill the Latino Leaders Network's mission, which is to build unity among us. I have the unique honor this afternoon of introducing someone who needs absolutely no introduction, but I'm going to attempt to do it anyway. He's someone whose dedication to the arts has been immense, yes, but whose commitment as an activist and a voice for the disenfranchised has made him a giant in the Latino community. It is said that when Edward James Olmos tells a story, people listen. All of his iconic roles would take too long for me to list this afternoon. But just on my way over here, I tried to recall all the roles that I remember Ed in. I remember him as Lieutenant Marty Castillo in Miami Vice, as the father to Selena, and like many, my personal favorite, East LA high school teacher extraordinaire, Jaime Escalante in the movie Stand and Deliver. Looking at all the awards Ed has been nominated for and won, it is clear that he is one of our nation's finest storytellers. But Ed uses his talents to do more than just entertain. He uses them to lead. He is a Goodwill ambassador for UNICEF, a board member for children's hospitals in Los Angeles and Miami, a spokesman for the Southwest Voter Registration Project that helps register Latino voters, which is also a personal passion of mine, and the chairman and the co-founder of Latino Public Broadcasting. Earlier this year, we went in my office in California to talk more about Latino Public Broadcasting, which is the only organization in the country focusing on the presence of Latino films and programs on public television. As the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, I see my job as that of focusing on all the issues that matter to the Latino community. So I just want to thank you, Ed, from the bottom of my heart, for your leadership, for lending your voice to raise awareness on so many issues of importance to our community. Your contributions are immeasurable. Everybody, please join me in recognizing and welcoming the great Edward James Olmos.
I'm emotionally moved to tears. I have been since yesterday. Maybe it's my age. I'm 69 years old. I know I look good, but I am old. And I'm here to say thank you, Paula. Thank you, Linda. Thank you both for giving me such kindness and such respect. I can only say to all of you, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for your support. Because no one deserves it as much as Mickey. Mickey, you're an inspiration to me. And I told him very directly into his face, and I'm going to make it public. I want to present this to Mickey on the 50th event, Luncheon. Please allow me to give it to you and say to you, thank you for your tremendous commitment. And I'll talk to the board and make sure that that happens. To say that this is not humbling, I had to tweet it this morning. I said, I'm humbled by this day. You have to realize that I really respect and I've really grown to understand many of you in this room. And I've learned that I myself am not in politics, even though every morning that I wake up, I'm a political statement in this country. I know very well where I come from. When people turn to me and they say, oh, you're so talented, you're so naturally gifted, I say, stop. Stop for a second, please. What I've learned and how I've learned it is all in Mickey's book. "30 Steps, the cleanest, most exact sense of understanding success within yourself, not to be better than anyone else, but to be the best that you can be." That is what I learned as a child, being raised and born. And I mean, all of us have our stories. And mine's no different. I started in a garage, dirt floors. My great-grandmother used to sweep the dirt floor, and my brother would say, "Why are you cleaning the dirt? Grandma, it's dirt." And she would be going, "Because we'll have the cleanest dirt in Los Angeles." You know, we had no bathroom. We washed dishes outside, inside of a lavativa, but it was a huge pot with the sprocket was the water. We had no running water. It was very, very humble, but man, was there love. A tremendous sense of love. And from that, slowly, I got to understand my life inside of that incredible wealth of love in an environment that made me who I am, and it took me so many years to understand it. I mean, on the corner of my house, right there in East LA, corner of First in Indiana, where now the Mercado is right across the street there, you all know it, on Cheeseboro Lane, right next door to us, our first little house, was an Apache family, Apache, 1,000% Apache, and his children. Up on top of the mountain, the road would lead into First Street, and our street would come up. It was on a big hill like this, and so it would lead right into, and on at the top, there was one driveway that led to two houses. One was Russian Orthodox immigrants. They were very white, albino white, and they wore white clothes, just always in white, everything. They had like 6 or 7 children, and their hair, the father and the mother had white hair, and they were unbelievably white. And right next to them was a family of African Americans. The house right next to them, and they had like 9 kids, and they were blue-black. I am not making this up. This is not fiction. This is what brought me to this moment in my life, to be able to stand here in front of you and to share it with you, because it's time. Right across the street from me, directly across the street, was a Japanese American family. The Koreans owned the center store on the right, on the corner. Chinese owned the ones at the other corner. And right in the middle of that block, there was a little store owned by the Pachecos, Centavito. My environment, I had the Jehovah Witnesses every single Wednesday standing there with the tower, watchtower, standing on the corner from 6 o'clock in the morning. And then every week I'd hear a knock on the door. My great-grandmother opened the door and she goes, "Yes, has anyone died here?" "Excuse me? Has anyone died here?" "No." She goes, "Okay, we're Mormons and we're here to register those that have died." And then every Sunday at 6:45, I would get up with my great-grandfather and we would walk to the Baptist church. I was raised Baptist, American Baptist. And if you think fire and brimstone in English is something, in Spanish it's riveting. Dios santo está aquí con nosotros, pero el diablo está aquí. And you would see people going, and they would stand up and they would cry, they would speak in tongues. They would get the kids out. They would take the kids out. We'd have everybody, and my great-grandfather was the custodial keeper of the church. So we'd make sure that all the chairs were the right way. We'd make sure that all the missals were the right way. We made sure the church was ready. And oh my God. Then my father, bless his heart, an immigrant from Mexico, the only one of 14 that came across, took us, when I was 6 years old, to a Catholic church. We stood up, we sat down. We stood up, we sat down. They talked in a language I had no idea what they're saying. And we stood up, and then we kneeled down. And then we stood up, and it was time to go. Baptists stayed in church from 8 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Catholics stayed for 45 minutes. And then we went off to Clifton's cafeteria on in Broadway. And then we went to the movies. I'm Catholic. And I learned one thing being raised in East LA in this environment. When I crossed over the First Street Bridge over the Los Angeles River and went into downtown, central downtown of Los Angeles, and then went into Westwood, I found it to be extremely, extremely different. I found it to be that there were Caucasians, there was Africans, there was Chinese, there was Asians, there was Latinos, but they were all in their own pockets. The Latinos were over here in San Fernando Valley, Pacoima and that, and then the Asians were in Little Tokyo, and the African Americans were South Central, and the Caucasians were everywhere, especially in the San Fernando Valley. And I said, wow, where I come from, our salad, because that's what it was a salad where the onion stays the onion, the tomato stays the tomato, the olive stays the olive, the lettuce stays the lettuce, and it's all there and it's all together, but it was never a melting pot. My life was not a melting pot. We all had our own sense of balance. We all were cultures within ourselves. And we were all Americans. But in my part of town, the salad was tossed. On top, you could put a French dressing, Italian dressing, a Russian dressing on top of ours. It was all mixed together. Across on the other side lettuce was on one side of the bowl, the onion was on the other, the tomato was on the other, the olive was on another, the Italian and Russian dressings and the different dressings were in little bowls on the side. And I said, wow, how interesting. I kind of like to eat salad tossed. It made me understand the essence of what it is that we've done to ourselves. We did it to ourselves. In East LA, we completely did it to ourselves. It was just the Jews, the Christians, the Muslims, the Buddhists. We all lived together. I learned from that environment who I was. I was a Chicano, a Mexican-American, full-blooded, 1,000%. Yo soy puro Chicano, 100. And that Chicanismo is split because it's a Mexican-American. And you saw Selena, you know how hard it is to be a Mexican-American. You got to be more Mexican than Mexican, you got to be more American than American, you got to be Spanish better than Mexican, English better than the American, and you got to be able to, eat American food, which is way too bland, and yet when you eat Mexican food, you get the runs. It's tough being a Mexican-American. But a Mexican-American, when I started to understand it, I was divided. A Mexican is a person who's half European, half indigenous. There's no other way to become a Mexican. There are no Mexicans before the Europeans came here. There were none. There was Olmeca, Maya, Mexica, Inca, Apache. There was all kinds of different indigenous people, but there were no Mexicans. The first Mexicans came out when the Europeans came across, impregnated the indigenous, and bingo, outside the Mexican. Orale! My indigenousness has been here for 40,000 years. Proven. 40,000 years. My ancestors have been here. My Europeanness has been here for 500, close to over 500 years. So when somebody tells me, go home, I say to them, I am home. I've been in this hemisphere. I've been in this hemisphere for centuries, thousands of years. But I also found out that before my direct lineage was here, we were in Asia. We were Asian before we became indigenous to this hemisphere. And before I was Asian, my people, my roots are in Africa. When you see Edward James Olmos, you never forget that I am African first. Look at me well. Asian second, indigenous third, mixed with my Caucasianness, and that's what makes me brown. Ta-da! It might be frighteningly, you say, oh, well, that's just, he's just following the lineage of humanity. No shit. What are we supposed to follow? We're leaders of the human race, but we still have a problem. And if you haven't seen what I said to the United Nations in 2009, Google Edward James Olmos at the UN. And you will hear me say clearly to the entire planet, there is one race. There's no such thing as an African race. There's no such thing as an Asian race, Caucasian race, a Latino race, African race. No, there's only one race. That's the human race, period. On my tombstone it will read, because of 40 years of saying this, there's only one race, the human race. That's how I will be buried. Because guess what? We still use race as a cultural determinant. All of you do. You think it's correct. Nothing wrong with it. Sociologists, psychologists, anthropologists, they all use it. Learned doctors use it. And what it has done is divided us. There is only one race, ladies and gentlemen. And inside of that race, there are beautiful cultures, African cultures, Caucasian cultures, Latino cultures, indigenous cultures. But you cannot tell me that the English are like the Irish. Try it sometime. Make that mistake. Or that the, Argentinian is like the Guatemalan. That'll get you some really interesting chuckles. The Japanese are like the Chinese. No, they're distinct cultures within those ethnicities. I'm sorry, I am so moved by this. As a leader, and I've been a leader for a long time, and if you read Mickey's book, you'll understand how I became a leader. Because Mickey is 1,000% correct. You have to give, and give some more to stay in balance. You'll get, but give more than you receive, and you'll get so much more that you don't even understand your life. When I started my life, I was so fortunate because remember I said, people tell me you're so naturally talented, naturally gifted, and I say, please don't do that to me, man. Don't do it to anybody. Don't tell people that they are naturally gifted unless you see a 3-year-old playing, Mozart, on the piano or something, That is a prodigy, and that is a person that is truly gifted from the conception. I was not that lucky. No, I learned to play baseball, and I couldn't play. Couldn't catch the ball, didn't know what the game was, didn't know anything about it, and I learned to play it. And by the time I was 14 years old, I was the youngest single-A ball player in Dodger history. I was playing with the Dodgers and with Connaught brothers, and Bobby went on to coach the Angels for like 15 years. And all I can tell you is I learned discipline, I learned determination, perseverance, and the key ingredient to my life, which is in the book, patience. I gave myself time to grow and to fail and to continue to grow. I leave you with this saying to you. Magic Johnson did not come out of his mother's womb bouncing a basketball. He had to learn how to bounce it. And he just bounced it to the best of his ability all the time, 7 days a week. So when you look at me, you remember that I'm African first. Caucasian is in there. Asian is in there. Indigenous is truly in there. And I am proud to be part of the human race. And I say to you, thank you, Mickey, for making my life even unbelievably more humbled than it was. I wept sitting here tonight. I wept yesterday as people said thank you to me. And you're the ones I gotta say thank you to you. I live a very privileged life because you enjoy my work. Well, I bless you and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me this opportunity to live my life. God bless you all. Thank you so much.